You're listening to His Empire of Dirt, Chapter 2. Michael Afton skips some stones. The first 3 telephone booths they encounter either have coins stuffed in their slots or have their wires cut by juveniles with nothing better to do. More than a fair share of people offer Mike a sideways glance, and Mike realizes that perhaps hell is not just London, but is also London immediately following World War II. Mike and this sad kid have been walking for about 20 minutes. He just vaguely recognizes the streets, some of which will be paved over in the future, and somehow manages to stumble him and the kid to the spot that he recalls. "Here we are," he says with a grunt, hopping over a fence that barricades the denizens from reaching the shore. The boy seems hesitant, staring at his feet, but curiosity gets the better of him, and he allows Mike to hoist him up and over the fence. Mike puts the kid on his shoulders, to which the boy releases a little laugh. It's hesitant and short, like he immediately regrets hilarity ever gracing his lips. Mike skids down the damp hill until they arrive at a spot beneath London Bridge. Dad took him here once, when he was just a kid, before Mike had truly learned to both fear and despise him. It was all just to demonstrate another thing that Dad was excellent at, which happened to be skipping stones. They'd stood there, under the bridge, Dad skipping a few rounded rocks, watching them sink beneath the gentle tide. They'd not exchanged a word the entire time, but for a rare moment, Mike was safe around his father. Of course, William could never hit or berate him in public. He would save that for when they arrived at their hotel, his belt buckle awfully cold enough to match his eyes. Here, though, beneath the bridge, tensions had melted away, and Michael Afton had been okay. Dad hadn't taught him how to skip stones, but Mike had learned from day one to be observant. He picks up a stone now and presents it to the little kid. "I learned this from my mom," he says, flicking his wrist and watching the stone skip 3 times before it sinks beneath the dark water. "Wanna try, kid?"
"Uh-huh."
The boy eagerly picks up a stone, but then, when it immediately falls beneath the water instead of magically hopping against it, he scowls, smudging his dress shoes with mud. "Hey, it's okay. It'll take you a minute to get it. Took me a while, too."
"I don't like being poor at things,"
the boy admits, and then, under his breath, he adds, "Father doesn't like me being poor at things." "Well, your old man ain't here right now. It's just me." Mike leans down and gestures to the boy to offer him help. After a few moments of deliberation, the boy nods, and Mike takes his tiny hand in his, demonstrating the proper motion. After but a couple of more tries after this, the boy manages to skip the rock 6 times before it sinks. He smiles mischievously in triumph, and Mike's heart tinges a bit with jealousy. "So, what are you doing by yourself, kid?"
"Grandfather just died,"
he explains, the dour subject treat as mundanely as the weather.
"and we went to his service. I don't like being around dead things. Father didn't notice me slip out. I didn't know how far I went until I stopped and saw the bridge."
"Oh, well, I'm sorry about your grandpa." The boy shrugs.
"He's fine."
After successfully skipping yet another stone, he turns to Mike, his red face finally paled from grief and misery into a monotone neutrality.
"What are you doing here, mister?"
"Honestly?" Mike scratches the back of his neck. "I'm not really sure. I really was just home."
"Where's home?"
US of A. At that, the boy laughs, and it's lingering now, like the schoolyard bullies were when they came upon their latest little victim. Mike startles a bit, but the boy is odd, and he's confused, so he ignores the red flag and continues skipping stones with him.
"I'd like to go there one day."
The boy squats on the ground, observing the skyline.
I want to go somewhere quieter than here. Somewhere where Father isn't.
What's wrong with your old man? The boy is silent, and Mike immediately understands. Mike plops down on the ground next to the kid and gestures to his forearms. My old man used to wail on me a ton, kid. With a belt, sometimes, but usually just his fists. Mike does not reveal that sometimes, especially when Dad got drunk, he would dangle a knife in front of Mike's face, sometimes tracing it against his throat, laughing sinisterly and jovially the entire time. Just know that your father is bigger and stronger than you, and that that's not your fault. It's never your fault. The boy nods, and suddenly tears tinge his eyes, and he rests his head against Mike's arm.
One day,
the boy whispers, and his voice is so low that Mike can hardly hear him.
Father won't be bigger and stronger than me.
After a few moments of silence, interrupting only by cars and passerby, the boy lifts his head up at Mike.
Can I come to America with you?
Mike startles, laughing a bit in shock. The last thing he needs is to be a father. In general, he's no good with kids, and he's too much of a mess to take care of even himself. And Michael is acutely aware that he deserves no happiness, not in his last life, this one or the next. Now, though, he doesn't even know how old he is, or presents himself as. I'm sorry, kid. You don't want to come home with me. I'm no good.
What do you mean?
Mike sighs, and the boy nudges closer onto his arm. Mike wraps an arm around him to provide him proximity and warmth. I'm not a good person. He isn't sure why he says this to a boy that doesn't deserve the burden, but he does. The words tumble out before he can even comprehend them. The boy shrugs against him.
I think you're plenty nice, mister. Did your father make you feel like that too?
He despises a bit how much this kid understands him. Not because he loathes having companionship, but because he never, ever has wanted someone to feel the way he has felt his entire life. Sometimes. I did something really bad, though. If you want any advice, though, kid, just be decent.
Just be decent,
the boy echoes, enunciating each syllable methodically.
Father wasn't the same when he came back from fighting.
Then, absent-mindedly, adding random things as children do, he says,
I hate dead things.
Well, I sure look alive, don't I? For the first time in decades, it's the truth. The boy looks up at him and beams, excitedly shaking his head. Come on, kid. We ought to get going. I know your dad's no good, but you need to go home. You can't stay out on the street.
I don't mind the cold, really.
I know, bud. One day, though, this'll all just seem like a bad dream.
It can't be so much a nightmare.
The boy grins toothily.
I met you after all, Mike.
Mike laughs as the kid scoops up too many stones in his pudgy arms, offering a few to him and skipping the rest against the water.
Thank you for being nice to me. There aren't a lot of nice people.
Ah, you'll find them, as long as you look in the right places. I found you, right? The boy nods, his neutral expression eventually giving way to hesitant joy. After their stones are exhausted, Mike scoops the kid into his arms. Okay, so the booths are all busted. You know your address, kid?
93 Air Street,
the boy rehearses, obviously coached by his parents to understand his place of residence.
Afton household.
Good, you... Mike's heart stutters in his chest, and he nearly drops the boy. And for a moment, he imagines he's back in the ball pit, his father trying to cleave through his rotting chest. And then after another moment, his dad is beating him once more, and finally his dad is telling him that you'll always be so fucking pathetic, Michael. What did you say your name was? He asked, and his voice is hollow as he sweats bullets, the world spinning.
William Afton, the boy says, and his voice is a tad annoyed at Michael's grip on him switches on a dime from oppressive to slipping. Are you okay, mister?
William Afton. The name is like poison in Mike's brain, like a tumor that he will never be rid of, the primordial fear of darkness that cursed ancient humans and forever lingered in their ancestors. William Afton, co-founder of Freddy Fazbear's Entertainment, is under investigation for the incident that led to 5 missing children at his restaurant last week. William Afton missing after last being seen entering restaurant William Afton 1938 to 1993. I always come back. Mike sets the boy down, and his entire body is shaking. His heart is shattering and tearing out of his chest, and he releases an anguished laugh, because of course, he must be in hell. Or maybe he's entirely a fool, because how much of an idiot could he be to 1, think that he could help someone, and 2, think that he could ever try to rectify anything without William fucking Afton getting in the way?
Are you okay, Mike?
You may not recognize me at first, but I assure you it's still me. You're William Afton? Mike clarifies, and his throat is constricting in on itself. The boy nods, and yes, Michael is in hell. He has to be. This is his cosmic punishment for being a monster. Mike has read once that dozens of people every year jump off bridges to kill themselves, and their bodies are never found. He's sure that hundreds of people have succumbed to the Thames. And perhaps he should add to that statistic. He should leap from that bridge, or simply just walk into the water and not look back, leaving little William Afton behind him, leaving the monster of every child's nightmare staring at him as he gives into hell and madness and... No. Mike shakes his head and wipes his face free of tears. He will not let his father win. He guarantees that this hallucination was a morbid creation of Dad himself, and that Dad is entirely aware that Mike is enough of a fool to believe in it, and that he's the little boy beneath him, cackling and roaring with laughter within his tiny vessel. You will fear me. Not anymore. He wasn't afraid of his dad anymore, not while he was strong again, not while he was finally blessed with death. He stares down at this little kid, at William Afton, and Mike is bigger and stronger than him. He could snap his dad's stupid fucking neck so easily. And even if this isn't the past, it's enough to be able to finally kill him. To finally end the man behind the slaughter, to finally be free, to finally take revenge. All Mike has ever been destined to be is to be intertwined with his father, to forever chase after him, and to end him. To die at the hands of William Afton and be at peace. This isn't peace. This is hell. He's fine with that. He could snap William's neck, and he could toss his body into the river. Or maybe he could trapeze into the street and declare, I finally did it, with so much victory that he could cry. He kneels down to the boy, to the monster, and he smiles nice and big, because he's finally going to do what he was always supposed to do. For a moment, he's happy, and with that he could absolutely vomit. This was how Dad felt, he is sure. Holy, euphoric evil.
looking down at a helpless child and killing them with his bare hands. He killed little kids, and he beat his own kid, and now Mike is just like him. And maybe that is the hell. Maybe he's going to turn into a rabbit suit-wearing psychopath, and he'll lure poor children to their deaths, and he'll get away with it all, because even death is not final for him. But Mike can't take it anymore. William Afton has taken far, far too much from him to ever be left alive, even if he is a little kid. He raises his hands to the quizzical child, and he can do it. He is permitted to feel elation upon murdering the monster. And he really is gonna do it this time. He is going to save the 5 missing children and the other slaughtered kids. And maybe with this, he can save Liz and Evan. And, oh God, he doesn't deserve to be happy, but Mike is so fucking tired. He startles. The little boy has placed a stone in the palms of his hand, and then tackled him into a hug. "Thank you, Mike," he mutters against his chest, "for being nice to me." William Afton has never thanked anyone for anything before in his entire life. Mike inhales a sharp gasp, and despite his best tries not to, he begins to sob. Dad deserves to kill him. Mike deserves every berating, every version of hell, every punishment his father can give him. If this twisted visage is the most brutal thing William Afton can conjure, then Mike deserves it. And he deserves so much more. "I'm sorry," Mike cries. And now he can't stop. "I'm sorry about Evan. I'm sorry for being such a disappointment. I'm sorry for getting in your way, for you hating me. I'm sorry for being bad. I'm sorry for being a monster." He can't breathe. He can't see. He can't feel. He's drowning. Mike will always be drowning, and no one will ever, ever lift him from the endless expanse of water that he has always, always been sinking into. "Thank you for being alive," William mutters. And that's it. That's the thing that breaks Mike. Because he has never, ever been thankful to be alive. But this one simple statement stabilizes his rapid heartbeat, and the world comes into view. And always, forever, infinitely, in front of Michael Afton, keeping him alive no matter what, is William Afton. "I think I'm ready to go home now," William whispers, and he steps away, studying the man whom he will grow to be the father of, and he smiles. Not like a wolf, but like a little damn kid. Like a little damn kid that he will grow to murder. "It's late. Let's go home." William takes Mike's hand in his, and he immediately demands control of the situation. Because of course he does. But Mike is glued to the spot. His father being grateful for Mike's existence is something that is entirely paradoxical. He inhales, and it takes him too long to exhale, and now his breathing is entirely lost to him. "Mister?" "You," Mike begins, but still, he can't breathe. "Mr. Mike, it's okay, William searches for something to calm his savior, and then his eyes are lit in an idea. He rummages through his pockets and replaces the stone in Mike's hand with a wooden object. Mike forces himself to breathe, to gather air around his shrinking lungs, and when his vision clears and his breath stabilizes, he examines the object. It is a tiny, wooden, painted purple bunny. "I won this," William explains, and Mike feels so far away. the only things grounding him being William's small voice and the rabbit on his palm. "It's my favourite colour. And it's my favourite animal." Why is that?" Mike stammers. And he feels so distant, so lost, so helpless. William shrugs. "I don't know about purple, but rabbits are... well, they always sneak away. They never get caught by a fox, and they're nice. Why don't you hold on to it? Makes me feel brave." "You can be brave too, Mike. I believe in you."
"I believe in you. I always come back. I believe in you. I always come back. I believe in you. And I always come back." Mike shakily exhales and nods. And fuck it. He will always strive to be better than his father, even if it fucking kills him. He clasps his hand around the little bunny and takes William's hand in his free one. And he nods. And he is still there. And for the first time ever in Mike's life, someone believes in him. If this is hell, if he can't get away from William Afton, then at least he can breathe. Breathe! It must be enough. He takes William away from under the bridge, and they travel down the winding roads to Hare Street, to home.
"Thank you, Mike. Thank you."
It must be a dream. Mike digs his nails into the palm of his hand to wake himself up. But he doesn't. He remains there, in the night, with his young father, with this purple rabbit, and with someone finally believing in him.